Hey guys, this is Juan with the Cine-Men Movie Podcast, letting you know that this episode is brought to you by San Marcos Mexican Restaurant, located right here at 2301 Southwest 59th Street in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Don't forget to check out their weekday specials, Monday through Friday, and Wednesdays. It's the girthiest of all girthiest. It's the Margarita Wednesday, $5 margarita, frozen or on the rocks. Great food and even better customer service. And don't forget to let Abel know that the Cine-Men Movie Podcast sent you for an additional 10% off your entire purchase. San Marcos Mexican Restaurant, great food, and it's the only dine-in restaurant of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.
A piece of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do? You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Happy Monday, moviegoers. Welcome to a new episode. Welcome to the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Juan, and I am joined by the cast, the crew, the guys. Edward. Edward is...
How's it going? What's up, folks?
Zach.
Hey, back by popular demand.
Long time no see.
Hey, there you go.
And I'm your host, Juan. If you guys are watching us on Imisawa Productions, please don't call the paddy wagon to come after me. Because I'm just trying to make sure aliens don't read my brain, my mind. I don't want them to spoil what we have in store for you for another great episode, another brand new episode. Episode 213, 213 straight episodes of brand new content. Whether it be movies like Signs. Next week, we're talking another Nightmare on Elm Street movie. It's just been a really, really great week. And guys, we're finally in October. We've said goodbye to September. We're in October. But Ed, we'll start with you, man. How was your week? How have you been?
Not too bad. I got one question. Did anybody wake up Green Day?
No.
Well, dang. Okay. Well.
No.
Oh well. Not too.
More like a shredder helmet, actually. But you know what? I tried. I didn't get the best in arts and crafts, but we're still here.
Hey,
not
listen,
too
Johnny. You got the foil hat. I got the water, so we're good to go.
I don't need a full hat because they don't want to read my mind.
Yeah. No shit.
Nobody does.
2 seconds
Zach,
in there, they're like, "Never mind."
Zach, how you been though? We didn't tell anybody what happened to you, but one of the last movies you got to talk about was Nope, and you got sent up into the you got beamed up into the spaceship. You got a little probing action going on.
Hey, listen, it was a little bit of probing, a little bit of traveling. It was all over the place.
But they dumped you back. They let you have us for they let us have you for horror season. Kicked off a few weeks ago when we talked about Pearl, but today we're talking about Signs. You guys have been wanting to talk about Signs for the longest time, and now we are here talking about the 20th anniversary of Signs. It celebrated its 20th anniversary just a few months ago in July. But yeah, guys, we're gonna get ready to get into today's show. We got a fun episode planned out. We got a top 5, nice top 5. Zach is debuting a brand new segment. And then we're going to talk about Signs. So if you guys want to check out last week's episode 212, we talked about From Dusk Till Dawn. Go and check it out. It's available now wherever you listen to podcasts. You can watch the episode on demand on this YouTube channel, Emiswa Productions. And you can also, Spotify, Anchor, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, and now
We're all over the place.
all over the place. And now, thanks to, like always, Prescribed Films Network, you can check us out on prescribedfilms.com. The social media, it's all the same. You guys can still find us on social media, facebook.com/the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Instagram is all one word, the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. And then the Twitter is at Cine-Men405. Probably the easiest and fastest way to get a hold of us is the email. Send us some quick emails at cinemen921 at gmail.com. So it has been a fun-filled week here at the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Last week we talked From Dusk Till Dawn. We talked top 5 Robert Rodriguez films. This week we're talking the 20th anniversary of Signs. And then, we've always been in partnership with Imsawa Productions and their YouTube channel. But starting this Friday, you guys can download and listen to Friday the 14th podcast audio where you listen to us at. So it's simple. Wherever you listen to podcasts, just click and search the Cine-Men Movie Podcast, and you can now listen to Friday the 14th podcast on our station. Available wherever you listen to us. So this Wednesday, October the 5th, we're talking about The Fly, live on Imsawa Productions YouTube channel at 8 p.m. But again, if you want to download and listen to the episode, it'll be available this Friday, the 7th. Friday the 7th, you can download and listen to The Fly. Ed, that's one of your favorite movies. Am I right?
Hey, it's a disgustingly great thing. That's all that needs to be said.
So yeah, been a fun week. I can't complain. Everybody else, you guys have a fun week?
Yeah,
it's been all right.
Yeah. Glad to be back. So,
this episode, guys, is also brought to you by Rodeo Cinema. Rodeo Cinema is Oklahoma City's exclusive non-for-profit art house. They have cinemas with 2 historic locations. The location that we always go to is right here in the Stockyards in Oklahoma City. Rodeo Cinema, 2221 Exchange Avenue in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. To learn more, in their bio on their Instagram, you can click www.rodeocinema.org, or you can just search Rodeo Cinema on Instagram. They offer a variety of film, music, and live events. Again, if you want to learn more, rodeocinema.org. But guys, I think we're going to go ahead and get into some recent watches. Zach, we'll start with you, man, since it's been a while.
Yeah, I have a whole laundry list. So if you guys want to, you need to go to the bathroom, now's the time to do it.
No, and if you want to share some a little bit later or next week, go for it. But is there anything in the past few weeks that maybe you have that you want to just put out there noteworthy and recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I've been probably like you guys, been keeping track of House of the Dragon, She-Hulk. Right before I did my final episode for a little bit, Better Call Saul had its series finale. Very good series finale.
We haven't talked to you in a while, so let's go ahead and we dug straight into recent watches because there's some stuff I wanted to talk to you personally about.
Yeah.
We were all dreading She-Hulk.
Yeah.
I don't know I think you were too, but I know I was. Craig was. I don't think Craig has even seen an episode yet. Ed's always optimistic. We love Ed for that. But what do you think? Like, honestly, I'm all caught up to date with She-Hulk, and I think it's a fun ride that you just have to have fun with.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the newest episode, last Thursday's episode, but to me, fun. It's not bad. Honestly, there are people out there saying it's like the worst thing ever. It's nowhere near that. I think it has some cheese.
It's more entertaining than WandaVision.
Yeah, there's some cheese factor to it, but I mean, I don't hate myself watching it.
Nope. It's easy. So. It's barely 30 minutes.
Yeah, literally like maybe 20-25 minutes, and that's it, an episode. So I appreciate that it's short, sweet, gets to the point. That's it.
I'm only on episode 4 of House of Dragons. What do you think so far? Non-spoiler.
I like it. I kind of go back and forth on it. There are moments where I think as good as Game of Thrones, and other times it's like a drag to watch it sometimes.
Yeah.
I like the characters. You know, in the beginning, I was very much like, yeah, you know, I like this as much as Game of Thrones. I like the characters. I understand what's going on. This last episode, the time jump, it messed with me a little bit, just because now we've introduced no. It's just just because we've introduced like 10 more characters basically. But
I will agree that one drags.
What about the Lord of the Rings series? Have you been watching that? Are you caught up? Because I know you're the biggest Lord of the Rings fan in
believe
history.
it or not, I have not watched it yet.
Really?
There's just a part of me that I'm just like, I don't know. Have you seen it, Ed?
I haven't.
Not.
They're like an hour and a half each episode, right?
Yeah.
That's why I don't want to get into it.
Yeah, there's part of me wants to watch it just to see just kind of a different version of Lord of the Rings, but the other part of me is like, you can't beat the Peter Jackson movies, so why are we even trying to do this?
I'll probably do that over my vacay.
And then I gotta ask you both this, because I'm only on episode 5, but are you guys in love with Jeffrey Dahmer like everybody else is?
Dude, it's like the newest thing. It's like the newest thing.
But you know what? I'm 5 in, and it's so fucking good. It is. I want to go watch it right now. I want to go finish it.
Dude, I finished it probably 4 or 5 days ago.
I know your ass would have finished it.
Well, okay. So the thing is I started watching with my wife a little bit, probably 20 minutes of the 4th or 5th episode, one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, how far along are you? And she's like, oh, about halfway. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll stop. Do you mind going back? And she's like, no, not at all. And the next night when I got to actually watch it with her, she basically was almost finished. So it was just like, okay. So watched it, and I think it took maybe a week to finish the entire series.
Yeah. So, I like that they're only 45 minutes to an hour long. It's just been I don't know, it's just been a breath of fresh air, and I really wish I had the time to finish it, but
Evan Peters kills it, man.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but great things about his performance, and even like I think people just forgot how much of a sociopath Jeffrey Dahmer was, and I've heard this show kind of really depicts that.
So he watched, I don't know how many hours, but I know it was a lot of hours. I mean, certainly almost as many hours as we've watched worth of film-wise on Dahmer. Any and everything about Dahmer. He's, he emulates the talking. I've watched interviews now, and the talking manners, the walking manners, different stuff like that, he nails. As well as, like, these are, like, 85 to 90% true to the actual reality, or at least what he explained, what Jeffrey Dahmer himself back in the day explained. They're as close to that, because some of the actual court cases, once you get into that further in, are, I mean, almost spot on. There's a huge reaction.
So Zach, are you all caught up with Dahmer as well, or are you have to get into it?
I haven't watched it yet.
No,
it's apparently it's on my to-do list because everyone keeps talking about it.
As far as recent watches though, what's some other stuff you've got to go through?
Like I said, Better Call Saul had its series finale back in August. I thought it was a very good series finale. Don't be expecting like an action-packed Breaking Bad finale, but I thought they did a really good job of wrapping the character up. I went and saw the re-releases of Jaws and E.T. in the theaters. Jaws was a really cool experience. And I'll just run through some of these. Beast with Idris Elba.
Oh yeah,
really good movie. I was kind of surprised by it.
Just give us some star ratings if you could.
Beast, I'll give an 8. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, 7. Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, I'll give it a 7. That movie surprised me, honestly, because it wasn't all about Nicolas Cage. There was actually a story to it.
Yeah.
Memory with Liam Neeson, I'll give a 6. Father Stew, man,
damn good.
Giving that a 9. The Lost City with Sandra Bullock, give it a 6. And I've actually seen, other than Halloween Ends, I've seen everything that we're talking about for October. Signs, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Bone Collector, and Halloween 4. I'm doing my rewatch of the Halloween movies, Halloween 1978, 2018, and I need to watch Kills before we go see Ends.
Are you going to the theater for that, or are you going to check it out on Peacock?
Going to the theater. One of my work friends wants to see it, so we're going with her. And The Woman King with Viola Davis. Got to see that in the theater.
How was that?
Awesome movie. Very, very good.
So, did you check out Pearl?
No, not yet.
What about the Barbarian? I've heard that is like really, really good, but I have not went and seen it yet.
I haven't seen Barbarian. I haven't seen Smile, which was #1 at the box office. I heard was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
What was some of the other ones you did? I haven't seen Bodies and Bodies.
That's pretty much it as far as
in theaters. But yeah, if I had to recommend anything, go check out Woman King. Go check out Father Stew, which is on Netflix. Actually saw Top Gun Maverick remake for Top Gun Maverick for a third time. But yeah.
If I had, I'll go through my recent watches. I don't have a lot. Like I said, I'm still watching Dahmer. I checked out Signs for the episode. I watched See No Evil with Kane for a recent episode of Friday the 14th. Dahmer made me want to watch Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile with
Zac Efron.
Dude, it was a good movie. It was a really good movie. It wasn't as brutal and horrifying as Dahmer is, but it was creepy, eerie, and Zac Efron gave a really good performance.
Yeah.
Hocus Pocus 2. Checked it out.
Yep.
By the way, I heard Craig's call out the last episode saying, "Oh, Zach's not going to watch Hocus Pocus 2." He's right.
Yeah.
Really, I just ran out of time. So, is it?
Don't. It's not worth. It's not. It's not worth. It's not worth it. An hour and 47 minutes. An hour and 40 minutes too long. You know, I wrote a little review on IMDb. Like some things are just better off left in the 90s, and this movie just tries to hit nostalgia at every point that it can. The story is a mess. It felt rushed, and it really felt like a made-for-TV movie. So for that, I'd give it a 5, and I don't think I'm ever going to watch it again.
I would
worse than
not really disagree. It's not as good. No.
Yeah, definitely not as good.
Definitely not as good.
Yeah.
I would say the first 15 minutes was pretty decent, or well, maybe 10 minutes, I guess. I did like the first opening bit, you know what I mean? But after the new introductions,
after I would say
it was okay.
After the Walgreens scene, it's all downhill from there.
Yes, that's true. I mean, there's some stuff in it that's like breadcrumbs that are good, but it's breadcrumbs. I mean, it's just small little things that they could have.
So for the fans that are just like super excited for it, are they going to be disappointed?
I think they're going to be disappointed. If you're an original fan, I think you'd be disappointed.
I don't know if highly disappointed, but mild, like medium disappointed, just because like.
How many stars would you give it, Ed?
6.
6.
I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna be like, dude, I've got to watch that again because like that just is not back to back kind of.
What about you, Ed? That. Anything you check out that you'd want to talk about?
I mean, Dahmer, already did. Finished that earlier this week. Hocus Pocus 2. Dahmer, I'd recommend for sure. House of Dragons, watched the newest or the second to newest episode, and it's just it dragged. It did. I think it's the introduction of them.
It's also season 1. It's also season 1. So season 1 is always going to be a lot slower than anything else.
Even the first season of Game of Thrones is slow.
Yeah.
It's not even that, man. It's just more the fact of like, because the middle episodes, they were great. You know
what the problem is? Where you've seen how many episodes have you seen? 4?
5.
John, you've seen 4 of them.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, I've seen 3.
3. Okay, so like, I think the problem is, I think we got used to the young Rhaenyra. We got used to the young ones, but now with this time jump, we're just like, okay, we have to almost like a reintroduction of who these characters
100%.
are.
100%.
And to me, it's just like I got used to those versions of the characters. I'm just like, I don't know. We were doing fine. Do we need? Why couldn't we just save this for season 2?
I don't know, because I feel like the older her is, she's all right.
I like Olivia Cook as Allison. I think she's a good fit for her.
Good. Yeah.
But everything else, I'm just like, I don't know.
He is. I like his character because he wants to go off and do things, and he wants to, do all this, but he's held back hard.
Yeah.
And I get it on both accounts for that matter, because just you're new to this, so you need to be, but it's kind of more the fact of like, I don't know, man.
Anything else you'd want to recommend, Ed, or?
Not 100% at the moment. I haven't really gone into full swing of watching things. I've been trying to pick up and practice, and then I've been trying to just get things straight at home. So yeah.
Guys, this episode is also brought to you by CDR Electronics. CDR gives you the best value for your electronics. They're located right here at 1604 West I-240 Service Road in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Movies, games, cell phones, iPhones, Apple products, tablets, and the latest technology. Watches, anything you need. Physical media as well. TVs, anything electronics. Go hit up CDR Electronics and let them know that the Cine-Men Movie Podcast sent you. And you can probably get an extra little 10% off your nice little girthy purchase right there just for mentioning that we sent you. So don't forget, I don't know if anybody prepared for the truth. Zach prepared.
Oh, I always prepare.
Good, because I was gonna just read some random shit that I found, but if you can't handle the truth, don't let Zach know, because he'll truth you. But Zach, you have some truth facts about science today.
Yeah. So number one, the stories of the children's birth are actually the stories of M. Night Shyamalan's 2 children. Number 2, Graham Hess was originally written as an older character. Paul Newman and Clint Eastwood turned down the role, and Johnny Depp was attached to star in this movie at one point. Number 3, M. Night Shyamalan cites The Birds, Night of the Living Dead, and Invasion of the Body Snatchers as references for this film. And last but not least, Mel Gibson said that standing in front of the actual circles is awe-inspiring and, quote-unquote, it helps you get into character.
Oh, nice. Those are some truth facts by Zach. Don't forget, guys, this episode is also brought to you by OKC Soda Company. OKC Soda is the craft soda company of Oklahoma with super unique flavors like strawberry shortcake, blueberry acai, made with pure cane sugar and all-natural flavors. If you're here locally in Oklahoma City, don't forget you can find your 6-packs of OKC Soda at Crest Foods, Pruitt Foods, and also here at their brewery, right there on 20th North MacArthur. So OKC Soda Company. You can also email them, okcsodacompany.com, and email them, let them know that the Cine-Men Movie Podcast sent you to get your hands on some exclusive merch. So OKC Soda, it's the only soda that we try to drink here at the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. So yeah. But Zach, you were introducing a new segment. I have not told anybody about this segment. Yeah. I really don't even know much about it. But sir, the floor is yours.
So I came up with this idea, and we're going to start it with signs today. I was had some free time at work, probably because, I need more work to do probably. But I went through the year of 2002, and I just was looking at, I was just curious to see what were like the top films that made the box office, like number 1 each week throughout the whole year of 2002. And I have a list here. We're going to go through them, starting from January all the way to December.
What are you calling this?
It's going to be called, our new segment is called Box Office Rewind. We're going to go back in time, just see what was number 1. So starting with January, for 4 consecutive weeks from mid-December. Well, when it came out from mid-December to January the 13th, Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring became the first film since The Grinch to be number 1 for 4 consecutive weeks. And then we go down to February, well, late January, early February. For 3 weeks, Black Hawk Down was number 1. Then after that, Collateral Damage with Arnold Schwarzenegger was number 1.
And these are just the top 10 box office of the year, right?
No, these are just like what was number 1 at the box office like that weekend.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. John Q, which we were going to talk about in January or July during our 20th anniversary special bonus episodes, was number 1. Queen of the Damned, We Were Soldiers, which we did a bonus episode back in July. The Time Machine, you remember that movie with Guy Pearce?
Huh.
Ice Age, Blade 2, Panic Room was number 1 for 2 weeks. Changing Lanes with Ben Affleck and Samuel L. Jackson was number 1. The Scorpion King, which we did an episode on last year, which is hard to believe, was 2 weeks. Spider-Man opened up the summer blockbuster season early on May the 3rd, I believe, May the 1st, 2nd. Attack of the Clones was there right after for 2 weeks. The Sum of All Fears, which was kind of a surprising movie with Ben Affleck and Morgan Freeman, was number 1 for 2 weeks. Scooby-Doo, you remember the live-action remake of Scooby-Doo was number 1 in mid-June. Minority Report, Mr. Deeds, Men in Black 2 opened up for July 4th weekend, was 2 weeks number 1. Road to Perdition, the Tom Hanks movie with Daniel Craig, was number 1. Austin Powers and Goldmember was number 1, late July. And then the movie we're talking about today, Signs, it opened up. It was number 1. Its opening weekend, and then Triple X with Vin Diesel took the spot for 2 weeks. Then Signs reclaimed the number 1 spot in its 4th weekend of release, was number 1 2 weeks in a row. Swim Fan, which I don't even know what that is, was number 1 in September for Labor Day weekend. Barbershop, Sweet Home Alabama, Red Dragon, the Hannibal Lecter prequel, was number 1 for 2 weeks. The Ring, this was just for you, Ed. Jackass the movie was number 1 for Halloween weekend. Santa Claus, 8 Mile, and then Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets and Die Another Day kind of switched back and forth for the next 4 weeks. Made in Manhattan was number 1, and then we end the year of 2002 with Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers for the last 2 weeks of the year,
which we're talking about in a few weeks.
Yep, in December.
So,
and that is the box office rewind for the year of 2002.
Interesting facts, more box office talk. Zach, you missed Craig's reaction last week when he found out that Avatar made like $10 million last week for the re-release. He was not happy, but it was funny. If you guys want to go back and see and watch his reaction, I highly recommend it. It was real funny to watch. But now it is time for our most sacred segment, the top 5. All right, guys. Today we are talking our top 5 Mel Gibson movies, with Signs being one of, if not maybe a lot of people's top Mel Gibson movie of all time. But it's going to be fun to see what everybody else thinks about Mel Gibson. He's gotten some bad rap because of some online videos that leaked and some stuff that he may not have said. At the end of the day, he's still a very talented director and a very talented actor. And he's putting those directing shoes back on for, let's hope sake, Lethal Weapon 5. Anybody have any honorable mentions? Top 5 Mel Gibson movies?
Negative.
I'm gonna go through mine right quick. I just have 2: the Mad Max trilogy, Beyond Thunderdome, and then what we're talking about today, Signs.
I have Lethal Weapon 2, Apocalypto, Pocahontas, Father Stew, in my official honorable mention, The Passion of the Christ. A film that I'm sure maybe it'll show up on one of the top 5 I understand that's probably what he's probably most famous for, but it's a film that
I'm only talking about movies he starred in, so I don't have any of the
Okay.
movies. I don't have any of the movies he directed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a film that obviously is very powerful, but you never, I'll never probably ever watch it again. So
I've never finished it.
Number 5 for me is going to be from 2016, and that's Bloodfather. Diego Luna and Mel Gibson. I think this is a very, very underrated. William H. Macy's also in it. This is a very underrated crime drama movie, and I think it's just a tremendous, just action flick. And I think Mel Gibson going back to basics and doing some movies like this. Let's face it, he could have been like Bruce Willis and he'll go out and do any and everything. But I'm very proud of what he selects and what he doesn't select. Yeah, he'll have some misses sometimes, but he has a lot of hits that are underground kind of movies that not a lot of people know. And that's kind of what almost my whole list is like gathered up to be. But number 5 for me is going to be Bloodfather. So, Zach, what about you? What's number 5 for you?
number 5 for me is going to be 2010's Edge of Darkness. This is probably his quote unquote comeback film after he kind of did his rants and everything. Homicide detective Thomas Craven investigates the murder of his activist daughter. He uncovers a corporate cover-up and government conspiracy that attracts an agent tasked with cleaning up the evidence. For this to be kind of like a personal drama, it's very action-packed and it's actually very thrilling, to be honest. I think he gives a very good performance. Ray Winstone's in it. Danny Houston plays the villain, which I think he's one of the worst villains that you could possibly hire. And like I said, the action in it is actually top notch, and by the end of the film you're hoping all the bad guys go down. So number 5 is Edge of Darkness.
Edward, number 5 for you.
Number 5, I'm gonna go ahead and put Chicken Run in this. Man, I don't know. He Chicken Run, I think, is kind of an overlooked movie in a lot of ways because it's claymation and all that good junk, but it's funny as hell, man. Honestly, if you've never seen it, I do highly recommend at least checking it out. It's hilarious.
It's weird he's in that. I don't know why. It's just like when you hear his voice, it's just like, oh, that's Mel Gibson in a kid's film.
Yeah. Like, hold up.
Number 4 for me should probably be higher, but number 4 is going to be Braveheart. I think probably just the rewatchability of a 3-hour solid, not fully action-packed film maybe for me, but number 4 is going to be Braveheart. I think it's just a little too girthy. I don't understand why that movie has to be 3 hours. It's a tremendous movie, don't get me wrong, and I think we have gotten a lot of emails about trying to review that soon, especially with us doing Gladiator, I think last year. I don't know why those movies get compared a lot, but they do. But number 4 for me is going to be Braveheart from 1995. Best Picture winner, Braveheart.
He got drawn and quartered, bro. William Wallace deserves respect.
Number 4 for you, Zach.
Number 4 for me is the film we talked about last in the summer. We Were Soldiers. Johnny, that was your first time watch, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yes, sir.
Very powerful war film that I think deserves I say that's his probably underrated film. It's a lot of people, you don't hear anyone talk about it anymore. It's up there with the way the Vietnam War is depicted in this. It's up there with Saving Private Ryan and World War II's depiction, to be honest.
You watch your mouth.
It's true. Don't lie.
If you guys want to go back and listen to me and Zach talk about that, I do recommend it. It was a fun episode.
So number 4, We Were Soldiers.
Edward, number 4 for you.
Numero 4, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, man. That one, I know it's very, very long, but it grabs me. It truly does. So it is.
Very girthy. You know what word we use here. What are you a rookie? Watch your mouth.
Rookie?
Yeah.
Son, I was number 1 draft pick.
Number 3 for me, Zach. You say underrated for Mel Gibson. I say poppycock. I say if you go underrated Mel Gibson, you have to watch Dragged Across Concrete from 2018. It's
only
on
three people. Only 3 people know what that is.
Yeah, it's on HBO Max, but it has Michael J. White, Vince Vaughn, Mel Gibson, and it's from the same director who directed Bone Tomahawk and Brawl in Cell Block 99. Dragged Across Concrete is it's a little girthy. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes. It does feel like it drags at some point, but Mel Gibson. I never thought I would say this in the same sentence. Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn have chemistry, and it's a very, very brutal, entertaining film. I would not watch it around any kids. It just takes you back. It makes you feel like you're watching an old school 90s crime action movie. And for that reason, it's jumped all the way up to number 3 on my list. So number 3 for me is Dragged Across Concrete, Mel Gibson, Vince Vaughn, from 2018. It's on HBO Max. Edward, number 3 for you.
Number 3 for me, I'm going to go ahead and go with Expendables 3. With this one, man, I think he played a fantastic villain. I don't know. He just had that raw energy of like, yeah, I don't care. It is what it is. And I know it's a movie. I know it's scripts and write and all that, but you've got those villains that can help elevate your heroes for that matter. And I think Mel Gibson taking on the entire Expendables squad was just beautifully done. So yeah, Expendables 3, man. Yeah.
Zach, number 3 for you.
Number 3 is his one of his other directorial films, Hacksaw Ridge. We talked about it a couple years ago for our Memorial Day War episode. Very, very good. I think it's up there, like I said, with Saving Private Ryan, one of the other great war films, especially with World War II. I personally think Andrew Garfield deserved the Oscar for that. I think he was phenomenal in it. And Mel Gibson doesn't shy away from the bloody violence, and just wanted to show what the realistic nature of war is. So,
who ended up winning that year?
Casey Affleck for Manchester by the Sea.
He did depress the hell out of me in that movie.
Yeah.
Number 2 is going to be Ransom from 1996. This is one of the first movies I've seen Mel Gibson in. Mel Gibson, Gary Sinise, Rene Russo, directed by Ron Howard. This movie is nail-biting, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat about a multi-million-dollar son, Tom, who Mel Gibson plays. His son is kidnapped, and honestly, they flirt the entire film that they're going to kill his kid. And then the swerve at the end of the movie from director Ron Howard, tremendous movie. Every time I talk about this movie on the episode, it makes me want to talk about it like in a full-length episode. So,
Lieutenant Dan is in it.
Lieutenant Dan is for sure in it. Number 2 for me, Ransom. Zach, number 2 for you?
Number 2, that was your first time seeing Mel Gibson. I think first time I saw Mel Gibson was The Patriot from 2000. Him, Heath Ledger. I always forget Heath Ledger's even in that. It's kind of hysterical, but really good. Everyone says that there's the film that defines the war, whether it be World War II, Vietnam, whatever. I think this is like the definitive Revolutionary War movie. We don't get very many of them, and I think this is one that really depicts not only the war side but also the struggles of what that time period was like. Awesome action. It's directed by Roland Emmerich, who did 2012, The Day After Tomorrow. Just a really, really fun movie, and it's 22 years old now, so it's kind of crazy to believe.
Edward, number 2 for you.
Number 2 for me, I'm going to go ahead and go with Braveheart. Man, you got to respect William Wallace, man. He wasn't about that. You weren't going to do that to him. You weren't going to just try and take his woman on that day. So, I'm
going to be honest. I don't think I've seen Braveheart all the way through. I'm going to be honest.
That's fair. I mean, it's a very long movie.
So that's 3 hours, basically.
So that's fair.
Number 1 for me, I couldn't decide between 1, 2, 3, or 4. So number 1 for me is the entire Lethal Weapon franchise. to me, when I think of Mel Gibson, I do think of Lethal Weapon, the just the relationship and the chemistry that he has with Danny Glover throughout the entire franchise. Throw Joe Pesci in there. They're all fun movies. They're all comedical, action packed. They just fly by. And to me, all those movies are nines and tens. Maybe I'm a little biased, but I just love the hell out of Lethal Weapon movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna say the entire franchise is number one for me. Zach, what about you?
Fair. Number one's the movie we're talking about today, Signs. So we'll get into it here in a little bit.
Nice. Edward, number one for you. Finish us off.
Subject matter, breaking my own rule, man. So, yeah, Signs, number one. We'll see.
Nice. And if you guys want to know what drives us and what makes us think of these top 5 lists, then go check our friends out over at Red and Blues Pizza, 4500 South May Avenue. Give them a call, 405-602-2838, 4500 South May Avenue, right here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Monday through Sunday, they're open. Great pizza, friendly customer service. You will not be disappointed. And if pizza is not your thing, they got wings, they got salads, burgers, calzones, they got cinnamon sticks. So check them out and let them know that the Cinnamon Movie Podcast sent you to get a little extra dough off of your pizza. So, but guys, it's time to get into what we're talking about today. Today, episode 213, we are talking about Signs. Before we dig into it, though, the director, M. Night Shyamalan, we usually talk director talk. Guys, do you have a favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie? And would it be Signs?
Yeah, I think Signs is my favorite of his. Split comes in right after that, to be honest, in second place. What about you guys?
I would say probably Signs, The Village, and then Split in my eyes. 1, 2, and 3.
What about you, Johnny?
If I had to pick just one right off the top of my head, I've never seen Lady in the Water, which gets a lot of praise. I would have to say it's between Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, or Split.
There you go.
Fair enough.
He gets a lot of flack. We're going to dig into it and talk about him a little bit later on today too. But what we're talking about is Signs. IMDb currently has it at 6.8. Rotten Tomatoes is at 75%. The Metascore is at 59%, while Edward and the Google users have it at 82%. With a release date of July 29th, 2002, the budget was $72 million. Currently, it has grossed a little over $408 million at the box office. A widowed former reverend living with his children and brother on a Pennsylvania farm finds mysterious crop circles in their fields, which suggests something more frightening to come. In that spoiler-free synopsis, starring Mel Gibson, Joaquin Phoenix, Rory Culkin, Abigail Breslin, Cherry Jones, M. Night Shyamalan, written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Zach, we're going to start with you. The first time you seen this movie, do you remember the first time viewing? What was it like? And did it change any for this recent watch for the episode?
First time, probably no surprise to anyone. I got to see this in the theater. Scared the living hell out of me. I couldn't walk by crop fields for the longest time. I actually remember my mom buying me the VHS. Remember those VHSs? I had to actually stay out in the hallway to watch the movie because I was so scared of it. Actually, it's truly, we'll get into it, but this is one of my favorite films of all time. Has a very special place in my heart for this film. And this film, it doesn't get old. And honestly, every time I watch it, I find something new about it. So,
Edward, do you remember the first time that you watched this? And if so, what was it like when you watched it? And then how was it revisiting it for the episode?
I've got to agree. Like, not necessarily like that. I didn't get to see it in theaters, but I did get to see it on DVD, I think.
DVD. Yep.
Yeah, Divid. Either way, I seen it on DVD, and basically, because I think my dad picked it up because he was like, "Hey, Mel Gibson's dude from Lethal Weapon. He's in some Signs alien movie or something." You like aliens? Here you go. And I'm like, all right. And man, we'll get into it, but there's two scenes that will never leave my mind ever. And I think you all know one for sure, maybe the other.
It's the scene where Rory Culkin uses this the swimsuit tape, right? You're like, oh, that swimsuit. I wonder what's on that swimsuit tape.
Yeah, sure. Sure. But no, this movie is one of those that is just under the blanket scared, man. It's one of those that you have to run out of the room, a dark room, because something's right behind you, kind of thing, man. That's all I can explain it like. That's it.
I first watched this movie literally maybe about 4 years ago, 3 years ago when we started this podcast. You guys remember I kind of shit on it, honestly. I kind of wondered why everybody was so in love with this movie. And I had my big arguments. We argued about it a little bit. I think, why would aliens pick an entire planet almost covered in water to come and try to capture or take over a planet that they're spoiler alert, it's a 20-year-old movie. I haven't seen it. Go check it out. I'm like, why would they spend their entire time coming and checking out a planet that's covered in water if water hurts them? And then some other stuff. I just nitpicked it. But, watching it the second time around and listening and being able to really concentrate on the dialogue between Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
The dialogue alone made me not fearful of what could lie if this were to happen. But it made me second guess and discover and concentrate on what I'm personally going through now. About Mel Gibson talking about faith and what he's talking about, his relationship with his family and who's in front of him now and his brother, Merle. And it made me realize that the writing that M. Night Shyamalan did for this movie, I don't think he's written a script like this since. Yeah. And even though this movie was in my honorable mentions, and even though I didn't say it was one of my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies, script-wise, I would say that this is probably the best dialogue that director has ever written his entire life.
Yeah, I would second that. Yeah,
and it's solely based on what Mel Gibson went through in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Going from a reverend, okay, and let's circle back. We're going to talk about the movie, but I don't know if Zach, you've been gone for a while, but I don't know if you've listened to some of the other stuff. But we're kind of all over the place now. We talk about what we want. We don't start from the beginning and go all the way to the end. But the dialogue that Mel Gibson uses in this movie, how he's a reverend, okay, and the death of his wife caused by M. Night Shyamalan's character in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He goes and talks to her, and it kind of made me question the end. Okay, not in a bad way, but it kind of made me question. A reverend doesn't believe in aliens. At least we think they don't. They're told not to. Okay, he doesn't believe in aliens. The tragedy with his wife happens. The tragedy with what he went through with those kids, his brother, and the aliens happens.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert, though. But at the end of the movie, he's back to being a father. He's back to being a reverend.
Right.
I wanted to ask you guys, because in the book, he even states it in the film. You're told, there's only one greater power.
Mm-hmm.
You could even pull up Scientology. Scientology, they believed in the aliens. They believed in stuff like that. What made you think? What would you guys have to say? Why make Mel Gibson a reverend again at the end of the movie?
I would say, okay, so, and I know, here we go. It's not that they're aliens, it's that they're demons. and he basically faced his demons. Okay, the entire movie, I feel, and I've heard this, and I kind of have thought about it, and going over it and over it and over it, and this is about him facing his demons. Because dude's lost in the beginning, and I mean, he really is. Aliens all of a sudden come out of nowhere and decide, whether it's for natural resources, whether it's for us as cattle, basically, whether to eat, to make work, or
So
whatever.
your simple answer to that is they're not aliens, they're demons.
I've heard that theory. And
No. I don't want to know their theory. The whole reason he became a father at the end of the movie, and why? That's why I'm asking. Like, why do you think he became a father all the way again at the end of the movie?
So okay, I feel like he said to himself, kind of thought to himself, or at least this is what M. Night Shyamalan was trying to convey. If he could face aliens and win, why couldn't he go ahead and face the death of his significant other, his wife, his spouse, and win from that, and kind of get put back into himself and his old life in a way.
I like that. I like that answer. Zach,
yeah.
What about you? I know we're jumping all over the place already, but this question has just been burning on my mind. Like, that's the only, if I could not understand something, that's the only thing I don't really understand is why M. Night would make him a reverend again after putting a reverend through the battle with aliens, after being told and taught going through that you're not supposed to believe in aliens.
Well, I think there's a little bit more to it than that. I'm going to disagree with you on Ed on that aspect of it. I don't think it's really demons that he's like going like fighting again. I think I agree that there are things that have held him back. I think the death of his wife really made him question his faith as a preacher, as a follower of God. But when we begin this movie, you're right, Ed. He's kind of this broken shell of a man. He's kind of quote unquote there for his kids. I think more of like Joaquin Phoenix's character, Meryl, is kind of there, kind of taking care of the kids. But I think the reason why he really becomes a preacher or a father at the end of this film again is really the fact that he was really afraid to lose someone else that he loved, which, by the time we get to the basement sequence, the kid gets attacked by one of the aliens. We think that he's going to have an asthma attack and kill him. But then something, I honest to God, when I watch this movie again, I finally understand the reference of when he said this is why he has asthma. Because when you have asthma, your lungs close up and he can't breathe. When he inhales, when you think he's inhaled the poisonous gas, you think he's dead by the end of the film, by the end of it. But I think that's why Mel Gibson has faith again, is that even something as minute and something as terrible as asthma can be, it saved this kid's life at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And I think that's how his faith comes back. He's able to say, if I can, this whole situation with these aliens, whether think of it what you want, I think he in that moment says, I have faith now. I can be a pasture.
So I'm going to go ahead and like kind of counter a bit. I did demons as a double entendre. His own demons in his head, in his past.
Right.
As well as, think about it like this. Okay, now we're like, okay, aliens are, more than likely a possibility. You know what I mean? There's a large percent of people that are like, aliens are probably real.
Yeah.
Think about this, and I know we're not. I know we're in the early 2000s. I understand. But think about if this was in like 1500.
Yeah.
This is a demon from the sky coming down, essentially. Like, hell is coming down to kill us all, kind of thing.
Yeah, so they made that movie. It's called Prey. They did that.
Exactly. But yeah, no, I'm meaning it as a double entendre for that matter. Double meaning, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. There's like actually physical monsters, but he himself is dealing with
But
his own
man,
personal demons. Yeah. No,
What do you guys
I
think
get
of
that.
what do you guys think honestly of the character Merle played by Joaquin Phoenix? I think I think he nails it this time around. Rewatching it, I really enjoyed the two brothers together and the dialogue that they shared throughout the movie. Mel Gibson talking to him about, um, what do you believe in, the faith
Yeah.
and coincidence? Do you believe in a coincidence or not? What do you guys think of that late night conversation that they had about, group one versus group two, the conversation of on our, about them being on their own.
I absolutely love that scene. It's just two characters doing dialogue between each other, but it's just like you said, Johnny. It's so damn well done. Like when you kind of start thinking about the whole premise of in a situation like this, whether it doesn't even have to be aliens, whether it have to be like a cancer fight or a divorce or whatever you want to call it, someone that has believes that someone's up there looking after them, or that's just a coincidence, just happy go chance.
What do you?
I think it's
I'm gonna.
brilliant.
What do you guys believe? I'm gonna let you pick one or the other. Um, Ed, do you believe in coincidence, or do you think every single thing that happens for a reason?
honestly, man, it's 50-50 in my eyes. I believe in coincidences just happening, but at the same time, I do believe that there are certain things that are set in stone, because I believe we're all born with innate abilities or innate talents for that matter, I guess. Some are musicians, some are, the behind the scenes guy, some are the tech guys, some are the just personality, some, just on and on and on. You can go forever. I mean, just some people are born to play that, born to
Yeah.
do
Zach,
that, born to be that.
Zachary, what do you think? Me personally, after watching this movie, I would have to say I truly believe that I think everything happens for a reason. I don't think there's such. I mean, yeah, there's probably such thing as like gut feelings or maybe a coincidence like feeling like deja vu. But I
Yeah.
really do think everything we've had to go through and endure all the way up to this point right now, me talking to you guys, I think everything happens and has to happen for a reason.
Because, I
Yeah.
mean, okay, think about it like this.
What do you think, Zach?
Go ahead.
I think just based off my life, just what I've been through in my personal life, there are things that there are things that just coincidence cannot be explained. You can't, whether you be in this moment of your life or whatever. There are certain circumstances that, whether you believe in a higher power or faith or whatever have you, there are certain aspects that, whether you said, Johnny, it's already pre-written that this is going to happen, or someone's there just to watch after you as you're going through these circumstances. There's just something. There are some things in life that basic gut feelings or deja vu. It can't be explained.
And that's the thing right there, because, it's kind of a thing like, when I started working with you at the Warren,
Yeah.
like, you know, why why did that happen? You know what I mean? When, Juan and I, went to some of the same schools, when, that didn't need to happen, or it could have gone the totally different way.
Yeah.
And forgive this, but my mom passing away from cancer 23 years ago,
Right.
I feel like I don't know what type of life I would have had then, but I never will know. That person doesn't exist anymore. Maybe they do in an alternate timeline.
Multiverse.
Maybe I don't know.
Right.
Don't really
Yeah.
need to know.
I
I'm
see what you're
this one
saying.
right now.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, because don't get me wrong, if she hadn't and I grew up in her care, maybe I would never have met you.
Yeah.
Maybe I wouldn't be friends with Juan like I am, for that matter.
Yeah.
Maybe I never would have met Craig. Stuff like that. So I'm just like, all this different little pieces of things, whether tragedies like that example,
Yeah.
or whether, small little things like, oh, well, I choked on, I don't know, I choked on that piece of food, but it in turn helped me, do this or whatever, or, such as asthma, as I have and have had forever, locking off the lungs to go ahead and not breathe in poison, compared to that's a good side of it, I guess,
Yeah.
compared to the other side of that, to where the asthma itself, no poison, could have killed him.
Right.
I mean, there's the differences. I've had asthma attacks. I know how that feels, and that sucks. It's embarrassing. It sucks because your body's kicking your own ass. It's different stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've gone through several different tragic things yourself.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a ton of stuff like that. So
like I've said, I'm a cancer survivor. I've had a liver transplant. I there are those circumstances alone. People always ask me like, it's hard. It's hard not to believe in a higher power or God or whatever you want to call it when you survive all that. I don't think it's just coincidence. I don't think it was just right. You had it at that exact moment where science was doing good or treatments or whatever. I think, there's no way that I did all that by myself. It's just one of those, like, going back on looking at the conversation between Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix of, I think there was someone up there that, cared for me.
Look, man, you need to be on the podcast, so chill out. But in all seriousness, like I said just a bit ago, I believe 50 and 50 because I don't believe coincidences can be there without, or necessarily with set in stones, but I don't feel like they can be there. It's I don't know. It's a very strange thing, but yeah.
Why do you say the faith reason, Johnny?
Why do I?
Yeah.
Not necessarily faith, but I like you guys, like you said, Zach, whether it be a higher power or somebody putting this whole thing together. Lately I've had to question a lot of stuff, whether it be personal matters, work matters, religious matters, spiritual matters. I just feel like, man, this movie's getting deep. I just feel like this and certain things can't just happen on coincidence. And I think whether it be good, whether it be bad, whether it be just perfect right now, I just really, really do think that certain things are put into your life to either A, grab the ball and run, or B, you're gonna fumble and it's your decision to fuck up.
Yeah.
And I don't think coincidences like that happen because we all have a choice at the end of the day. We all have, a decision at the end of the day. Coincidences don't make that,
Right.
Something puts those decisions and those situations in your hands, and it's up to you to make those decisions. Whether it be a bad decision because I've decided to use certain opportunities and situations and whatever you want to call this, as far as a podcast. Maybe I'm in the wrong. Maybe I've chosen certain things that I shouldn't have chosen before, but that happened for a reason. And I could get into a whole fucking Pentecostal decision group conversation about shit like this. But I'm not gonna go down that road. But I don't know. This movie just really made me feel like, I don't think things can happen coincidence. I think, Ed, I agree with you. I do think that it may feel like a coincidence and things happen for certain amounts of time. Maybe right time, right place, deja vu kind of feeling like that. But yeah, that's something that I would have to say is my guess. And you know, Signs hits on all different kinds of points right now. If you guys have not seen Signs, I just highly recommend going and watching it. You know, it's an hour and 40 minutes, and it flies the fuck by.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, it's October, it's horror season. You would think of, you know, this isn't really a horror movie, but it's a suspenseful sci-fi that has horror-like elements. We're going to be talking about something that has horror-like elements in a few weeks with The Bone Collector. That's the one good thing I like about doing this podcast is our horror season isn't just kind of like, you know,
blood and guts.
Yeah, we do a lot of like horror suspense kind of stuff. Like a few years ago when we talked about Seven. I still go back to that episode. That was a fun conversation. I think this is a fun conversation too. But I just like the way that M. Night Shyamalan messes with your mind. And we can talk about the director, guys. He gets a lot of flack. You know, I don't know if you guys have seen his new trailer for his new Batista movie.
Yeah.
Knock or
on
something.
the door.
Knock on the door.
Mm-hmm.
But M. Night has been known to start throwing you a lot of curveballs, something you don't see coming at the end of his movies.
Right.
This movie didn't have that. You know, a lot of what happens at the end of the movie is spread out in it's just spread out throughout the movie. The glasses of water, the book, the aluminum hats, the conversation between M. Night and Mel Gibson when they're at the car.
Mm-hmm.
So everything in this movie towards the end is just sprinkled throughout the whole thing. And I like that because even though your mind is still guessing, you're still kind of like at awe at the end of the movie because the way he shoots his alien scenes. Let's talk about that. When you think of an alien movie, sometimes you're like, oh, Mars Attack. They show aliens every other fucking scene.
Yeah.
Super 8. They do the more old school stuff where they show you about 8 minutes into, 8 minutes worth of alien shot in the whole movie. E.T. shown throughout the entire movie. Jaws, not an alien, but they hold the shark for certain scenes and it works. I think M. Night does that for this movie, and he does that for his aliens. His aliens are held for certain scenes shot throughout the movie, and it completely works in this movie. I wanted to bring this up to you guys because if I had one pet peeve this time around, one nitpick, it was this. My only nitpick this third time around watching this movie is that the aliens looked kind of terrible for CGI aliens. I do kind of wish he used practical effects 90% of the time for the aliens. What do you guys think about that?
At the time, so I think more than anything, the aliens are okay. Because I'm going to go ahead and say those two scenes that have always stuck with me. That I think those aliens are on fucking point. One,
go ahead. I was going to agree. They are on point with the way they look. I'm just disappointed that he used CGI for most of his alien shots.
Oh, because I will say I do see how I feel like I understand the thing that you're wanting to say is that like some of the shots don't just blend well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Not saying that at all.
Well, I'm saying okay, so I feel
he's disappointed by it's all CGI instead of actual practical effects. The only practical effect I think that the alien is when he's in the crops at nighttime and the foot goes back into the field,
or when the hand gets cut, your fingers get cut off.
Yeah.
So
after seeing this movie, this is like my 20th time seeing this movie. I mean, ultimately, you can probably guess what grade I'm going to give this. It doesn't. I mean,
you're going to give it a wangasm.
Well, I was going to give it a 0.5, but whatever. But I think you have to remember this is just a product of the time. The CGI was still, quote unquote, in its infancy at that time. Granted, we have gotten better things. But to me, I mean, it still works. The visuals still work. The practical effects that are in the film still work. and I appreciate Shyamalan's use of the Spielberg trope of not showing the monster right away. Just let it build and build and build until finally you get the night sequence in the crops, or the birthday party scene where the alien walks across the screen or whatever. I think
those are all good shots. I just wish for the few times you did get to see the alien, he because I don't know if you guys have seen the X-Files the movie. They had some walking aliens, and they were practical effects. They were deep looking, creepy motherfuckers. And I just wanted some of that realism of a practical effect looking alien. That's all. It didn't ruin the movie for me this time. Like I said, that was just a small nitpick. But Ed, you said the scene where the alien walks at the birthday party.
That's one of them, yeah.
What's the other one that got you?
Alien on top of the house at night, where she
comes
in.
Yeah.
Dad, can I have a glass of water? I'm thirsty. And by the way, there's a man,
a monster.
A monster. Okay, I was like, can't remember what. But there's a monster outside of my bedroom window, and he the one thing that you can't take away from this script is great, wonderful. I will agree. One of the best scripts that honestly in that year could have been written. One of the best scripts for that genre easily. But the one thing that you can't argue is the delivery from Joaquin Phoenix and Mel Gibson. Those two, swing away, Mel, swing away. Because I mean, dude, when he's like, you can see him turn to like, why are you up to water again? Oh my God, to excuse me, kind of thing. Like if your kid or Craig's kid was just like, there's someone outside my window, y'all be like, there's what? Where?
No, I would be like, go to bed. You're just trying to stay up an extra 15 minutes. Go to sleep. Ain't nobody outside your fucking window.
This dude goes, and when I was a kid, I shit you not, when I was younger and I first saw this movie, don't get me wrong, I've got goosebumps right now. But that scene made me want to turn that movie off.
That's the diabetes kicking in, Ed.
It was just like, no. And I mean, because when you're a kid, if you're in a room, you're afraid of the dark. Shadows play a plague on your mind. And your mind is going to mess with you so much it's not funny. And that was another card of the trick right there, as well as the birthday party was a flash of the whole. I think that was the first flash of the entirety of the body of the alien, face, head,
the full
body,
full body shot. Yeah.
The scene that kind of got me this time around was when they thought everything was over, and they're bringing the TV out into the front room, and you see the alien in the back, in the back shot of the reflection of the screen. That was like, okay, that was pretty cool.
The scene that always gets me. Go ahead, Ed.
I was just gonna say, with Joaquin Phoenix's part of that, because he's like watching, he's in the closet just watching TV. He's like, I didn't want the kids to, see everything, so I figured in here. He's like, oh, okay, cool. And we're gonna take you to Brazil to this film and try to the birthday party, and it's like, okay, and he's
what
like,
you're about to see may disturb you,
right? And it's just like, and I mean, like I said, goosebumps again, man. Like
there's so much of this movie that I want to talk about. I know we don't have like 15 hours to devote to this, but if we're gonna talk about our favorite scare scene, the one that still to this day just gets me. It's like the whole. It's almost, by this point, it's almost a home invasion film, almost, if you want to think about it like that. Because when the aliens are trying to get in the house, and Mel Gibson's talking to his son about being born, and they say, we got to go, and it cuts to the front door, and the nails start coming underneath under the door. That just, it creeps me out every single time. It's just like, at that point, like it feels like there's nowhere safe.
Speaking of putting ourselves in those scenes again, I want to talk to you guys about this one particular scene when Mel Gibson was asking what would you have, and they were all naming off what foods they would have.
Yeah.
Almost of a reverend like Mel Gibson talking about a Last Supper.
Yeah.
First off, tremendous scene where he's saying, asking everybody what they would have, and then he tells what he would have, and then the actual dinner table scene itself was spectacular.
Extra bacon.
Last 15 hours on Earth, Ed, what would be your Last Supper? You can't say Burger King either.
I'd probably have chili. I mean, like a good chili with my dad's cornbread and I don't know, just a can of Surge, and then I don't know, my aunt's hot fudge cake.
Zach?
Am I allowed to go out and get something or just homemade?
Yeah, fuck it. Go ahead. You can go out and get it.
No. He said no.
Just no Burger King though.
I'm kidding.
Probably a last minute Chick-fil-A run with some homemade banana pudding.
Oh,
that'd be good.
I would have some red and blue. No, I'm just
stop.
Hey,
that would have been an awesome transition.
Being said, that's funny. Honestly, I would have my sister and brother-in-law go spend some of their money on some expensive ribeyes and have them smoke some ribeyes and then have them make some breakfast food. So I'd do breakfast food, ribeye, and then a shit ton of tequila.
Oh, so basically you give yourself a heart attack before the end of the world.
Hey.
Exactly.
So, one question for y'all. The water. Do you think it was a hydrophobic thing? That the water was an acid or something like that to them? Or do you think it was the chemicals in the water? That is the reason why she kept saying it tastes funny, because like whether it be fluoride or some type of harsh chemical or toxic chemical even in that, do y'all think that was what actually hit? Because maybe the aliens aren't, they're accustomed to water.
She was the only one. She was the only one who said the water tasted funny, though.
But some people have a more acute palate.
Even
others.
I mean, even Rory drank it and said it's fine. Everybody else drank it and said it was fine. Now the dog did end up sick, so maybe the water made the dog sick.
But I'm saying like some people have more acute palates than others. Like you might taste something that's 100% different than I taste, and vice versa. But I mean, I don't know. Since we're used to this world, since we're used to, and I mean, don't get me wrong, we're not all used to it. A big percentage has allergies, whether it's to pollen, food, touching, different soaps or fabrics or something like that. I mean, I think
the aliens were just, not fond of water, and they knew that it could hurt them. Even with M. Night Shyamalan's character saying, "I'm going out to a lake," with all the news sightings of them being in the center of an island or in the center of a countryside, like they were staying away from water for a reason.
Yeah.
So
I don't.
Good bring up. I like the argument. I like the bring up case. That makes a good point.
I think
there's just too many. There's too many signs throughout the movie that talk about them not being likeness to water.
Yeah.
Colleen's death. I want to talk about her death for this just before we get ready to start mentioning some favorite scenes. When at the end of the movie they start showing you the flashbacks, and you see, him walking towards her. Hey, she's not even supposed to be alive. The vehicle severed her severely from the waist down. She should be dead, but we're not moving the truck until you come and talk to her. Again, one of those moments that is just like awe-inspiring, the dialogue, and then him actually going and talking to her. Tremendous writing.
Yeah.
So
I think it's prevalent to only show the flashbacks at dramatic sequences. So the first one we get after Mel and Joaquin's talk at night. The second one we get after the kid has the asthma attack, and the third is right when the alien is in the living room. I think yeah, swing away. And I think he uses them perfectly, and he doesn't like over rely on them. It's just like,
Right.
hey, here's a little
And that's where
clip, here's a little what I'm trying to set up, and it leads into something else.
and that really makes what makes you feel like things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
Like
So
it kind of makes you feel like she said that, you know.
Yeah.
the only thing I would say personally that kind of confused the heck out of me, and I thought it was really cool because I like the designs, but were the symbols on the door. Because okay, they have hard times with doors. I get that. That's not but the symbols on the door, like the star, the moon,
Oh.
all that, all the geometry shapes. Why? You know what I mean? Like, what are we trying to do here? Because obviously, as tall and as lanky as y'all are, y'all can't fit through those. So I understand if they cut like a big hole in the door and just step through.
Yeah.
But that's break windows. You're good. Y'all were trying to come in through the air vents or air ducts.
Maybe that's the utensils they use. Those are the utensils that for hanging up Christmas trees and shit like that.
Yeah.
Maybe those are their ornaments. That's what their ornaments look like.
But that's the only kind of nitpick that was kind of just like, I don't know why that's in there.
One of the other things I think this film does so brilliantly is the score. The score by James Newton Howard is just so so impeccable.
Well.
It's so impeccable. It's timed well. It's just the Hands of Fate, which is basically the score at the end of the film when everything goes down, is so brilliantly conducted. It's brilliant, and it brings another level of creepiness to the film that I think it helps it. And like I said, even the sequence where after the second dog, you can hear the dog be killed outside, and Joaquin asks Emil, should we turn off the lights? And they say they already know we're here. And you hear like the pitter patter of the feet going across the porch. And it's just know we're here. And you hear and the film just kind of and the camera just kind of just follows their movement all the way till they get to the front door.
Another thing, I thought it was such a fantastic thing of the radios catching their signals and hearing their talking. Because one sounded like the baby monitors. Yeah.
The baby monitor, yeah.
One sounds so similar to like a whale talk, you know what I mean? Kind of thing, to where the other one sounded just clicking.
Yeah.
I don't know how to truly explain that, but just sounds like clicking. And I mean, it's almost kind of like, okay, is that just different tones they're using? You know what I mean? It's almost fascinating to think of what were they kind of saying, Was it
Get
attack? Okay. Yeah, exactly. But I thought that it was cool that, the son picked up on that and, kind of used those to not necessarily hear what they're doing, but at the same time kind of hear that. I thought that was a nice little piece of cinema right there. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Favorite scene or favorite scenes? Ed, do you want to go ahead and go? What's one scene that you always defines this movie for you?
The birthday scene is the highest one because, I mean, don't get me wrong, that if that doesn't stick with you throughout almost anything other, like if that isn't one thing, because okay, you've got like Close Encounters of the Third Kind with them trying to communicate with the two light boards and all that, and switching different lights on and all that good stuff with the ships. There's different things like that you have throughout his cinema history, and that's just the one scene to me that is sticking out above anything. Because that's you can ask anybody about it practically. Have you seen the movie Signs? Okay, cool. This one, and they'll, oh yeah, kind of thing. They know that scene. That scene is the most well recognized easily. So that one, and then like I said earlier, the kind of whole sequence of I see a monster outside my window, and then him going, and then I'd say if I had to have a third, the kind of comedy scene of them both going out, I'm gonna whoop your ass, you better get, just calling out to it and all that.
I cursed.
I thought it was the
Yeah.
Dexter's Laboratory scene where Abigail Breslau's watching. Is like, Dad, where's the remote? I don't know,
And
baby.
then
Check the
even
sofa cushions.
even that right there, like to find out that the girl from or the little girl from Zombielands was the little girl from Signs, that was
Yeah.
cool too. To find
Yeah.
that out years later.
My favorite scene would probably be the scene where they're talking about group 1 and group 2 and whether it's, coincidence or not. I think that's just perfect dialogue. And then the scene where Mel Gibson is trying to calm the son down from having an asthma attack. That whole
Yeah.
scene, where
Powerful.
the alien grabs him and it just goes downhill quick from there. And he grabs his son and he's like, just breathe with me and just breathe and breathe. That whole ending sequence from that to where they go upstairs and battle the alien. It's phenomenal, honestly. And this, the third time around, just paying attention to the dialogue and Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix just blew me out of the water this time around. No pun intended with the water. Um, just a tremendous rewatch. And yeah, Zach, what about you?
I'm just gonna say the whole movie. I don't give a damn. It's. I mean, I really can't pick one scene that really stands out between all of them. I think the faith versus the coincidence scene is excellent. Basically from the Last Supper to the end of the film, it just keeps you on your toes. There's even one little scene in between where the kids are like, by this point, Joaquin Phoenix is saying it's like War of the Worlds, and basically all all hell is about to break loose. And Rory Culkin turns to him and said, "I wish you were my dad." And
Yep.
he says, "Don't you ever say anything like that again." It cuts to Mel Gibson looking out the window, and just like the fear on his face is just so, like, basically he thinks that they're all gonna die, and then he closes up the board on the window. It's phenomenal. And the score is just, it swells in that scene, and you're just like, oh my god, what's gonna happen?
Yeah. Star rating time, guys. Ed, we'll start with you. Star rating for Signs.
This is a very dear film. Honestly, it's been a few years since I've seen it, but really not much has changed about it other than I tried to look this time from Mel Gibson or Joaquin Phoenix's eyes, for that matter. Um, I mean, I'm gonna give a 9 either way, looking from the kid, looking from the adults, but yeah, this film is amazing. It's very dear, so yeah,
Yeah.
9.
I'm gonna give this movie a nice 8. I think it's a solid film. I think it has great rewatchability just because of the hour and 40 minutes flew by.
Yeah.
And if you don't concentrate on anything else throughout the whole movie, even though it's an alien film, concentrate on the battle that Mel Gibson is going through in his life right now with Joaquin Phoenix and his brother and his 2 kids and the
Yeah.
death of his wife. That in particular, and then you throw the aliens on top. Hats off to M. Night Shyamalan. And I know 8 seems like a low score, but I'm just giving it a nice 8 for now. And it's a great watch. If you haven't seen Signs, go check it out. Zach?
It's interesting. It just kind of popped in my head. It's an alien film. It's not an alien film. It's a family drama, basically. It's a 10. It's one of my favorite top 5 favorite films of all time. I have a very personal connection to this film, just the sappiness of it. But I mean, I was diagnosed with cancer the second time around when this movie came out. I think I got diagnosed in the spring. This movie came out in the summer. And I remember distinctly going to see it, like doing this the entire time in the theater, having my hands over my eyes.
That was Ed just a few days ago rewatching this.
But I always get a smile on my face anytime someone says, "Oh, I love Signs," or like they remember what that experience was like. And yeah, it's 10 out of 10 for me. And something I'm very surprised by, just because of how so many people love this film. I'm surprised this did not get like a 4K re-release for its 20th anniversary. I'm very surprised by that. But
it is what it is.
Maybe they're
Same
waiting for
thing.
this.
What he need.
Same thing
Maybe
with
they're.
Same thing with the Sixth Sense. You know, I don't
Yeah.
know what it is. I think it's a Touchstone thing. Touchstone
Yeah,
Pictures.
I think it's the
you know?
rights to that.
Yeah. But if you guys want to let us know your star rating and your top 5 Mel Gibson movies, by all means, let us know. CINEMEN921 at gmail.com. Email us at CINE, that's Cinnamon921 at gmail.com. It's time to get into the mailbag. Greg says from Dusk Till Dawn is my favorite Robert Rodriguez film without a doubt. 10 stars. Henry says my top 5 Robert Rodriguez films in this order: number 5, Spy Kids 2; number 4, Sin City; number 3, Once Upon a Time in Mexico; number 2, Spy Kids; and then number 1, Machete. Jeffrey says Signs is an all-time great. 10 stars, could watch it over and over again.
Yep.
Lisa says Signs is a 10. It's one of the few movies that I could watch, stop, rewind, and go all the way from the beginning and watch again. 10 stars.
What do you think about that? I think me and Ed would agree that this has a lot of rewatchability. What do you think?
This time around, I could see it. You know, the first time I watched it, I wasn't a big fan of it. The last 2 times I've watched it, you know, just paying attention to it more, I think you find something different every time you rewatch it.
I think originally you thought this was it was fine, but now after after you got to study it a little bit more, you like it a little bit more. You like it more.
Yeah, especially watching it this time around and actually just paying attention to the dialogue, it hits different. Barry says my top 5 Robert Rodriguez films in this order: number 5, Sin City; number 4, From Dusk Till Dawn; number 3, El Mariachi; number 2, Machete; number 1, Alita, Battle Angel. Omar says Signs is awesome. I love the whole idea. Signs gets an 8 from me. Sean says, is there a better M. Night Shyamalan movie? I'll wait. Let's argue. 10 stars. Sarah97 says Sign gets an all-time 9 stars for me. A near perfect M. Night Shyamalan movie. Lots of love from Signs. I'm gonna finish up with this one. Sam G69 says Signs is still bone chilling, and no matter how old I am, it's still creepy and eerie. Sign 10 stars. Great movie.
100% agree with that.
Great movie to kick off October.
Awesome.
It's still creepy as hell.
If you guys want to send some more social media messages, emails, here it is: Facebook.com/The Cinnamon Movie Podcast. Instagram, all one word, The Cinnamon Movie Podcast. Twitter, Cinnamon405, or just email us. Fastest way, CINEMEN921 at gmail.com.
Listener, and looks like current watcher Jeremy Crockett says, let's see if the email bag can get filled up to the top. I think it always does. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, it usually gets filled up to the top. We try. You know, I don't know. It also has a lot to do with me, depending on what kind of time I have throughout the day or the week to sit down and actually respond to all the emails we get.
And something else I want to say before we wrap this up is, I don't know how you guys feel about this, what I'm about to say, but Signs to me, it defines like the early 2000s. It's just one of those films that just like whenever I go back and think about the early 2000s, like that's one of the first movies that comes into my brain. So
definitely for a genre, I will agree 100% with that. It depends, but yeah, it's one of those that movie wise is always probably top 10 of that.
And for everybody out there who sends in emails, don't get discouraged if I don't read them. Continue to send them. I only read what I respond to. So even if I respond with a thumbs up, I will not read your message over the show unless I respond to it. That's just me personally. I feel like if you take the time to send in an email, then you deserve the time for me to send a reply back. Whether it's a handshake, a fist bump, a thank you, or just a thumbs up. Like, I send the reply back and then I read it. So for those of you that have not heard it, don't get discouraged. Continue, please, to send those in.
He's got to write a book to you, then he'll read it over the email. He'll read it over the show.
But other than that, guys, next week we have a little bit more of a original horror-like feel. Next week we talk a Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. This is considered the best Nightmare outside of the original. We've only talked 2 of them. We talked the original Nightmare back in the day in 2018, and then a few years ago we talked Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Zach, we'll start with you. What does Freddy mean to you, and what are you most looking forward to about talking about next week?
I think Freddy, to me, Freddy is like one of the, you can make an argument, top 3 horror characters ever made. Honestly,
he's one of the forefathers.
He is. He's one of the forefathers. If you had a Mount Rushmore of horror characters, I think he'd be on the wall.
Hey, Ed.
But yeah, this is a first time watch. I've seen it already, and it'll be a fun conversation.
First time watch for you next week, so I can't wait to get your comments on the film. Edward, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. What are you most looking forward to about talking about next week?
Rewatch, honestly.
Zach, what'd you get to watch it on? Did you find it on somewhere?
It's actually streaming. I rented it from the library, but it's actually streaming on HBO Max right now.
HBO Max it up. I haven't said that in such a long time. HBO Max it up. Ed, again, I'm sorry. What are you most looking forward to about seeing it next week?
Yeah, just kind of rewatching it. It's been the first time in a few years since I've watched this one as well. But yes, Dream Warriors, it's been one of my favorites. So yeah, I mean, honestly,
HBO Max
can't wait to see it. You know, it is on Tubi for free as well. But I mean, you know,
again, next week, guys, Monday, October the 10th, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. And then after that, we go back to the theaters. October 17th, Halloween Ends. October 24th, The Bone Collector, Denzel. October 31st, Halloween Night, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Ed, anything else you want to mention or talk about with Signs before we get out of here?
Yeah. Both y'all looking like some Hershey's Kisses. Look at y'all.
I got something you can eat.
Oh, you know.
You can unwrap me.
First off. Nah, man, Signs. If you haven't seen this, I don't know where you are. If you're just not into the aliens, I guess, or horror or
Shyamalan,
anything like that, or the Shyamalan, you know. I get it, but other than that, man, if you haven't seen it, what are you doing? Like, this is one of the best movies of the early 2000s, so hit this thing up. But this is Ed saying I'll see you on the silver screen.
Zach, next week, Nightmare on Elm Street 3. What do you want to leave everybody with Signs today?
Just go see it. I mean, truthfully, this film is 20 years old. I think all of us would agree that it still holds up 20 years later. I think it's a damn good film. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm so glad we finally got to talk about it. Next week with Nightmare on Elm Street 3, it'll be fun. It'll be a fun conversation, and I will say we'll save it. So we'll see you next week.
Next week, guys, October 10th, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Signs. Thank you, everybody, for this conversation. Thank you for listening and tuning into Cine-Men Movie Podcast. We thank you guys every single week. We appreciate it. Episode 214 next week. Freddy's back.
Johnny, Ed, where are you guys going this weekend? Is that this weekend or next weekend?
We'll talk to you about that a little bit later, Zach. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 next week. Freddy is back, and we're talking about him next week right here on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.
Bye.
1, 2, 3. Freddy's coming.